your club president, and providing our invitation today is Alice Alt, the Executive Director of Kentucky to the World, and a Paul Harris Fellow.
Thank you, President Ken. Fellow Rotarians, will you bow your head with me? Let us take a moment to pause and be present. We are grateful for this gathering of neighbors and friends, people committed to service, fellowship, and the belief that our actions can make a difference in Louisville and beyond. We give thanks for the opportunity to come together across backgrounds and perspectives, united by a shared purpose. As we begin today, we hold in our thoughts and prayers all those affected by the snow and bitter cold, those without adequate shelter, those facing hardship or isolation, first responders and workers braving dangerous conditions, and neighbors offering help where they can. May warmth, safety, and compassion surround them, and may relief come quickly. May we be guided by wisdom in our decisions, generosity in our actions, and humility in our leadership. Help us to listen well, speak thoughtfully, and work collaboratively for the common good. We ask for clarity as we address the needs of our community, courage to lead where leadership is needed, and compassion for those whose voices are not always heard. May our efforts reflect the Rotary spirit of service above self. Amen.
Thank you, Alice. Now for our pledge before we test. Renee Olapali, Louisville Federal Market Leader at HMB, Professional Engineers, LLC.
Let's face the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now before the weight test.
Is this the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you. Rotarians, we have a guest today. Please come to the microphone and introduce yourself and your guest. And guests, please stand with your name and role in the organization.
Can you hear me? Good morning, President. Good morning, fellow Rotarians. I'd like to introduce a very dear friend of mine, also IFMA board member with me, a gentleman by the name of Roger Taylor with Mora Construction, father of 5, husband, amazing grandfather to 10 children, and his most important is being a business owner and thrives on his community and meeting new people. Roger, I'm grateful to have you join me today.
President Ken, my guest today is Ryan Spur, a new friend that I made at the GLI City Champs program. Ryan is the special event sales for Triple Downs.
Nicole is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. We're the St. Matthew's Chamber, we're both ambassadors, and she is now a board member.
President Ken, my name is Jillian. I'm the Director of Graduate Student Recruitment for the University of Louisville College of Business, and my colleague and fellow Center grad, Claire Jensen, is with me today, and she's at the Oxford with the college.
Hi, I'm Linda Marshall-Moore, and my guest today is Renisha Davis. She is Director of Student Undergraduate Services here at the University of Louisville in the School of Business, and I sponsored her in membership. It took me a year to convince her, and she truly exemplifies compassionate service.
Awesome. And Rotary guest, we welcome you, and after the meeting, if the Rotary table, will be there with somebody. Say Mallory, Renee, who's ever sitting over there. I'll come over. Right now is the final call to register for the mayor's annual State of the City address to our club at the Kentucky Performing Arts Center. That's Thursday, February 12th. The doors all open at noon, and the program will start at 12:30. It'll be a great program. You don't want to miss it. Lunch will not be provided, but a grab-and-go snack cup and cookie will be available, as well as coffee and water. No walk-ins for the meeting, so if you missed today's RSVP deadline, just let Tracy or Colleen know if you would like to be added to the waiting list. Our next Rotary Happy Hour will be Tuesday, February 10th, 4:30 to 6 at the Mashup Food Hall in Nulu. Let Mackenzie White know if you plan to attend. And then join us Wednesday, February 11th for our Rotary Enrichment Fair at the Kentucky Humane Society on Steely Drive. Stop by any time between 10 and 1. Lunch will be served. Free lunch from Salsa Rita's beginning at 11:30. As part of this service project, you can make enrichment treats and toys and help with packing, adoption folders, and prepping syringes for the vet team, and learn about the new animal and community camps. Rotary Day in Downs tickets are selling fast. We'll be back at the Silk balcony on Wednesday, April 29th. Scan the QR code for more information and to purchase tickets, or look for the link on our website homepage. Thank you for all who have already made your annual contribution to our local Rotary Fund, which provides financial support for our many service projects, Rotary Honor Scholars, Rotary Unsung Hero programs and scholarships, our Interact clubs at Western and Iroquois High Schools, our Rotary Leadership Fellows program, our support for refugee families, the monthly meals we serve at Recenter Ministries, our Habitat Project for Humanity, our Repair Affairs Project, our reading program, the West End School Imagination Library, our local speech competition, and the West End Housing Initiative. So just before we ring the bell at the end of today's meeting, Cliff Arjun will draw the winner of the first private label bourbon from Jackson Purchase Distillery right here. And signed by Master Distiller Craig Beat from the names of those who have contributed 100 or more since July 1st. We'll draw. You still have a few minutes to scan the QR code on your table to hit check or cash the link before the meeting ends, before the draw. We'll be doing additional drawings over the next few weeks, so check localrotary.org for details and links for all of our events and opportunities. And if you haven't already, follow us online on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and YouTube. I'd like to invite Amy Luttrell, President and CEO of Good Rock Industries of Kentucky, and she's chair of the Rotary Foundation Committee, and Major Donor Level 2. Come up. And honors and palms. Fellow recognition.
Thank you, President Ken. We have paper rights out up here. So today we get to recognize 4 of our fellow Rotarians as Paul Harris Fellows. And for those of you that are new to Rotary, what that is Rotary International's way of recognizing anybody who has given $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation. And that doesn't have to be $1,000 all at once. It can be as little as $100 at a time. So if you start doing that, it adds up, and you will be a Paul Harris Fellow. I looked at our numbers here. Our club has 380 members, and 153 of us are Paul Harris Fellows. And 86 of those 153 are like multiple level, and that's really what we're going to be recognizing today. So that's when you go past that $1,000, you continue to be recognized. But we need some of the rest of you to speak up. So 380 minus 153, you can do the math there. We've got a lot of potential. Every year our club has 2 goals for foundation giving, and we agree on those with Rotary International. One of those goals is for the annual fund.
Our goal is for $50,000 a year right now. Year-to-date, July through January, we are at $31,000, so we need to get to 50. But last year was a great year for us. We did $72,000. So it'd be great to at least get to that point and maybe even break through that barrier. Our second goal is for Polio Plus. That is $10,000 a year. Right now, we are at $5,400, and last year we did $9,600. So we need some more gifts from the rest of you to get us there. So I want to just give you 3 reasons why you should think about giving to the foundation. But there's a lot of things you can give to. We know that. And the first one is our club. We're not just a freestanding independent club that somebody in Louisville made up. We're a part of a worldwide network of 45,000 clubs. And what that brings with it is ability for us to be a part of some really big things that we could never do on our own. So Rotary does all kinds of domestic and international projects that our dollars help to support, water projects, health, education, many different things, and of course my favorite, eradicating polio, which is a horrible disease. So those are things that we could never even hope to do on our own, but we get to be part of when we give a gift to the foundation. The second reason is the foundation has a wonderful reputation for managing both the funds and the projects. So those funds are well invested, and we've usually got Rotarians, if it's in another country, at the other end over there. They're providing some oversight to that project to make sure our money's well used and make sure that project is doing what was intended. And then the third reason, if you're one of those people that says, you know, I just prefer to give locally. If you give a gift to the foundation, you're doing both. Because part of that gift will ultimately come back to our club in the form of district grants for the projects that we come up with here in the Louisville area. So I think it's a great thing to do and hope that even more of you will consider doing that. So now I will ask our 4 honorees to come up, and they are Sharon LaRue, Dr. Harry Stevenson, Tom Crimmins, and Walt Kunow. Would you go ahead? All right. Well, do you, Sharon? And so Sharon first. And so Sharon is now a Paul Harris Fellow +1. So thank you so much, Sharon. Okay. Dr. Harry Stevenson is now a Paul Harris +4. Thank you so much. Next, we have Walt Kunow, who is a Paul Harris +5. Congratulations. And finally, wait for it, Tom Crimmins is a Paul Harris Fellow +8. All right, so if anybody has been inspired by these honorees and you want to give or you want to know where your giving stands, just see me and I'll be able to help you out with that. And now I know everyone wants a picture.
You guys come right in front of the podium, please.
All right. Back to you, President Kent.
We have one guest who was overlooked, and I'd like to introduce him. Mahendra Rashwati, please stand. And I put him right there. He's not really my guest, but he.
I don't think he made it.
What? Okay.
Tracy, is Mahendra here?
Okay. Anyway, I'm glad he's here.
Well, appreciate everyone's contributions. Thank you, Amy, as always, for giving us awesome insights. Barbara Sexton-Smith, our president-elect, come on up. We have more to honor.
Yes, okay, so thank you, President Ken, and fellow Rotarians and guests. I would now like to invite you to join me at the podium, Renisha Davis. Renisha, come on up here. And now, ladies and gentlemen, pay close attention. She is sporting an official Rotary International scarf. Everybody go, hoo-ha! All right, Renisha, you never know what's going to happen when I invite you up here to join me. Okay. So Rotarians, as you all know, we seek to grow our membership every day and every week, not only to increase our impact and influence as a club, but also to spread that impact and influence all throughout our community and beyond. So now to you, Renisha, you are going to be inducted into one of the, if not the largest, service club organizations on planet Earth. That's right. I always like to try to be dramatic with that. Okay, so you've been elected to membership in our club because we believe that you possess the qualities that will lead you to exemplify the true spirit of Rotary and our four-way test, which we all shared together a moment ago. And you have been admitted not only to the 12th largest club in the world, David Horne, our speaker, and you got this, we are the 10th largest club in the United States of America. Oh, he's so impressed, I can tell. He's taking notes, look, I love that. Okay, Rotary membership, it adds value to those who engage. And just like anything else in life, Renisha, you will get out of Rotary what you put into it. So just have conversations with any of the folks in the room, and they can share their Rotary stories with you. And we are looking forward to you sharing your Rotary story with others. So at this time, it's my honor to officially induct you into our club, and I'm going to ask one of your sponsors, Dr. Linda Barton-Moore, to come to the official pinning ceremony. That's right, Dr. Barton-Moore. Now, Rick Horne sent me a message. He said, please mention that I also sponsored Renisha. So, Rick is caught up somewhere in some travel debacle of some sort. So next week, everybody thank Rick Horne for sponsoring Renisha. How about that? You ready to tell us about yourself? Okay, step up.
Hi, everyone. Here. So my name is Renisha Davis. Later this year, I will actually celebrate 20 years of service at the University of Louisville. During that time, I have had the opportunity to support and mentor a number of incredible students. So because of that, it wasn't a surprise last year when my supervisor asked me to attend a meeting with two individuals who were interested in starting a student Rotary club at UL. And so I listened, and during that meeting, I do what I usually do when there's an opportunity to serve. I ask a simple question, how can I help? And so from there, weeks later, we had our U of L Student Leadership Board in place. We were official, we had our constitution, we recruited members, we planned out a semester of activities, a number of service projects, including a blood drive and a clothing and canned food drive to support individuals dealing with homelessness situations. And so what started out as a meeting between two strangers, Dr. Linda and Rick, who's in El Salvador, who messaged me this morning, that grew into a great friendship. And so I'm excited to be part of this organization and working alongside all of these. So Rotary embodies everything that I believe in. So thank you, Linda.
President Ken. Come on, speak right now. All right. Thank you.
Welcome, Renisha. Glad to have you. We've had a lot of new members in the past year who have joined or rejoined. If you're one of them, please stand so we can give you a big shout out and cheers. Appreciate all of you. each week, and I'd like to invite Kelly Hutchinson, the Senior VP of Development at Masonic Homes, Kentucky, and Chair of the Invocation Committee, to share on her journey. You come on.
So Ken asked me to share just 2 minutes to tell about myself and what Rotary means to me. So I'll go quick. I grew up in Louisville, went to Eastern High School, that's always the question. I attended EKU and the University of Louisville. And then I've spent my career in nonprofit development, specifically with health and human service agencies. I think that happened because in 2nd grade at Linden Elementary, it's no longer there, we had a big learning week on community helpers. And I remember back at that time, I decided that's what I want to do when I grow up. I just didn't know what it would look like. So being a part of Rotary Club of Louisville holds deep meaning for me. Specifically, I remember when it was a men's club. So the fact that there are so many female leaders now in Rotary also matters to me. I've made some great friends through Rotary, so I will tell you, it is service of self, but it also is going to allow you to make lots of deeply rewarding connections and new friends. I'm married, my husband's a middle school science teacher, 2 children, and a 3-year-old cockapoo. That's it.
Thank you, Kelly. I'd like to invite to the podium Matt Riggle, Chief Administrative Officer of LPX Group and Paul Harris Fellow, who's today's speaker. Matt.
Morning. I want to introduce my friend Dave Horne. Really quickly before I do the introduction, I just wanted to point out that I am proudly wearing some LPX swag provided from Tag Swag, so thank you for that. So Dave is a 2nd-generation entrepreneur and president of Tag Swag, a Louisville-based branded merchandise and apparel company, celebrating over 40 years in business. What began as a small family operation has grown into a modern, vertically integrated organization serving brands, institutions, and teams across the country. Dave has been deeply involved in navigating the challenges of growth, from operational scaling and facility expansion to leadership and brand development, all while preserving the heart of a family business. Driven by the belief that long-term success is built on perseverance, strong relationships, and value-based leadership, Dave brings a candid perspective on entrepreneurship. His approach emphasizes never giving up through adversity, innovating through change, and intentionally building a culture that aligns people around a shared purpose. As both a business leader and a family man, Dave is passionate about creating organizations that are not only financially successful, but also enduring, people-centered, and built to last. Please join me in welcoming Dave Horne.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here to speak to you today and share the story of our family business. Louisville is such a great town. It's the small, big town that we all love. And this room represents that as I look around. I was recruited to be here today from Ashley Brower. Really appreciate that. At the speech that I gave to the Association for Corporate Growth. And I met Ken actually last week at the Louisville Kings event. I look around the room here. Rickle mentioned how we were friends and we grew up together. And Ken Whalen in the room is a family friend of ours. Ryan Spur, who's a guest today, was an intern of mine at the University of Louisville. Michael Huerta at Fifth Third is a customer, as is Jeremy with Miranda Construction. I saw him back there. Mackenzie's husband is a customer of ours as well. Let's see, Dee Tran has been a family friend for a long time. He's who keeps me up with the Rotary with his LinkedIn posts as well. Aaron Duvall and I have been emailing about bringing the mayor out to our grand opening. And I wanted to meet Gil Holland. I saw Mr. Underhill, who's my neighbor over there. Alan Singleton's son was my roommate at Center College. And Vernon is recruiting us to get our MBA. So it's a wonderful. So that kind of just the room kind of was a microcosm, I think, of Louisville and how business works in Louisville. I also have been to a Rotary meeting before. It was 15 years ago. I was the director of soccer operations for the University of Louisville. Ken Lola spoke to this group. And Ken is, well, if you know Ken, he's one of the greatest speakers and leaders in this city. And so I got my first taste back then. So it's a full circle moment. Also being in the university club where we had many of our pregame meals for the soccer program. I was on the staff there. So, and Finn and I drove 1 minute here from our new building. So, happy to be here. And I forgot my clicker there. Thank you. Okay. So we get a little more feel for the room here. I'd like to ask if you're an entrepreneur or a founder, if you'd raise your hand. And keep your hand up high. And everybody look around at these entrepreneurs and founders, okay? Take a look at this group of people. We're going to get an idea of how these people think and why they do what they do. Okay, yeah, here we go. So there's a book called The E-Myth, Why Most Small Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It. And the stats are brutal. That within 1 year, 40% of businesses fail. And then within 5 years, 80% of those businesses fail. And these people, these entrepreneurs know that when they started their businesses. And it gets even worse that only 4% of businesses make it for 10 years. So did this group know that? Did you know that when you started your business? But it takes the entrepreneur to start something. And for us, that's my dad, John Horne. He founded our company, Stitch Designers, in 1985, the year I was born. He grew up, moved all around the country with his dad's business, and earned an accounting degree from the University of Kansas. He ended up moving to Louisville, where he was leasing and appraising equipment. He played rugby for the Louisville Rugby Club, and I think that in his lifestyle of competition and courage, he wanted to start his own business. He said it was the most honorable thing he could do. And so, in 1985, the year I was born, my mom brought me home from the hospital. My dad brought home that machine. And that machine now sits in the lobby of our new building. When you come see us, you'll see it right when you walk in. The desk that was in that picture is actually in that same area, so pretty neat. They say that entrepreneurs are the people that entrepreneur is someone who jumps off a cliff and builds a plane on the way down. People can probably relate to that. Here's another one. An entrepreneur is one who risks financial ruin, public humiliation, and general well-being in pursuit of a better life. And my favorite one is Dave Ramsey, and I can very much relate to this in that an entrepreneur is the only animal who can go from sheer exhilaration to sheer terror and back again in 24 hours. It takes the entrepreneur to start something, and that's certainly our story. And that roller coaster defines our story in his leadership. But there's 3 reasons that we reflect back on how do we make it to be one of the 4% and go past 10 years, now on to just celebrate our 40th year. And kind of boil it down to these 3 reasons: leadership, adaptability, and perseverance. And we all know the value of leadership as we just look around society. As John Maxwell, the author, says, that everything rises and falls on leadership. Great example here in town. If you just look at the University of Louisville basketball program, from Kenny Payne to now Coach Kelsey, it rises and falls on leadership. Look at Coach Signetti at Indiana University. The entire program has risen on his leadership. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That's also a Maxwell quote that I really like, but perhaps my favorite one is that it's character in action. And my favorite type of leadership, which Ken Lola exemplified too, is servant leadership. And our company has been one of servant leadership from the very beginning, starting I think with my dad's vision of who he is, but then also the people that he recruited in around it. His entire system, he didn't have his core values defined, but he just said we just want to treat people like they like to be treated. He attracted in like-minded leaders, and for us, it started with the refugee community. And it started with the Vietnamese community through the Catholic Charities, and this woman here, Manya. Manya, she was our very first production manager of the company, and her two sons ran our production for 35 years. She was the definition of servant leadership at heart, and she was like a grandmother to me. I can still feel looking at her the way that she made me feel. This type of hospitality that she had is now in this book called Unreasonable Hospitality. If you've read that book, I'm reading it right now. But it just so much reminds me of her and the way that the Vietnamese are. I grew up going to the Kingston Apartments. That's my brother and me with her son, Young, and Vian, his wife, and my mom and dad there. D-Train is actually related to many of the people that have been. His uncle actually is running a machine right now on some hats. But the way that they were, that the servant-minded leadership and hospitality is what permeated our culture through these people. This is the way that they roll, and they still do today. This is actually in my parents' backyard. I live on the other side of that fence today. And what they do is they get together. When they get together, they all sit at one table. They all face each other. And all the food is in the middle. There's always food in the middle, and beer's on the outside. And if the beer gets down towards the end, it gets immediately filled back up. You don't finish your beer. If you finish the food, a steak in front of you, another steak comes out. I mean, it's unreasonable hospitality, the way that they act and the way that they treat. And we were so fortunate to have these people within our company because, again, it just permeated throughout the entire organization. A couple more pictures there. Since then, we've now expanded more to the refugee community. Today we have many people from Myanmar, and but the largest population now, as you know, is now the Cuban community. And so, but this community in our culture is a big reason why we've been able to make it for 40 years and work. And within our company, over 200 people become U.S. citizens. So, on to the adaptability part of it. We are a manufacturing company, starting primarily just within Rotary, large multi-headed Rotary machines. And the way my dad ran the business, he started out selling to the customer and then putting on the logos and complete. But as it went on, it became clear that he says that he wanted to coach our teams, which he did, and be around and be a family man. He couldn't run a manufacturing business and a sales organization. So what he did is he just focused on the manufacturing, and we became what's known as a contract decorator. So we became behind the scenes and visible in the supply chain and let the distributors go out and make the sales while we're behind the scenes doing the manufacturing. So that was a lot of the type of business that we were doing for decades. Here in the city of Louisville, we have done the logos for everybody for decades. Nobody knew about it. And it was all because we're behind the scenes running a manufacturing facility. Over time, he continued to adaptability to keep going and keep surviving. And he expanded into screen printing. We eventually ended up in two 35,000 square foot buildings. This is the building, one of the buildings we were previously in Shively. Our other facility was over on Rockland Parkway, over by Churchill Downs. And his mindset and the perseverance piece that comes out was he would say to me that if you can just make payroll and just stay in the game, you always have a chance. He's such a big thinker and believer and never give up. In his room growing up, there was a picture up on the mantle that was a rugby player tackled down to the ground. And it said that a champion is someone who gets up even when they can't. And I never understood what that meant, but now I do. He just always has a way of getting up and staying in the game. The second part, there's some of the team there. The second part of the story is where I came into the fold. I grew up an entrepreneur myself. I started cutting grass when I was 11 years old. I never went out to the family business. My brother and sister did, but it was too far away. I just decided I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make real money cutting grass. So I started doing that. And I ended up kind of having a lawn business and ended up doing that until I went and played soccer at Center College. I went on to play minor league professional in the USL and then looped back into Louisville when we started this pro indoor team at Louisville Lightning. I was 25 years old and some of you all may have known the late Wayne Stopenall. He and I started this team and had games at Mockingbird and kind of made a splash in the city of Louisville. We had a couple thousand people at the games, but I learned a lot about being an entrepreneur in this role is we created a brand and we sold the season tickets and the sponsorships and recruited the players and hired a coach and had party rooms, and, a dance team and a DJ, and had a really good time doing that part of it. But that was part of my journey and led me on from there to become a part of the staff at the University of Louisville. That's when I joined Ken's staff, and that was actually the hope was to join the staff. As I saw the success that he was having, I asked he and his wife Tina at the Young Center, if they ever need any help with anything, I'd be happy to jump in and see what I can do. That led to a meeting with Ken and his wife, which led to a meeting with Tom Jurich. And I sat in the room with Tom, and he and Ken were talking, and Ken told me before we went up to his office, I have no idea what he's going to say or really what this is, but I'm just trying to get you on the staff. And so we went up to the meeting room, and I sat there, and they were kind of having pleasantries, and I kind of sat politely, and then Tom looked over at me and he said, "What do you got?" I said, "Well, there's so much success with the program because of Ken's leadership. I'd love to support it and see how I can help." He said, "That's all I need to know that you were passionate. Ken, let's do it. Let's boom." So they created this position of Director of Soccer Operations. And so I was able to do that for 8 seasons with Ken. Got to come to the Rotary Club for that speech. But really, the part there that was so incredible was to learn how to lead and the character-based, servant-based leadership that Ken exemplified. If you don't know who he was 2-time National Coach of the Year. They built that $20 million stadium on campus. He took the team to 5 Elite Eights in 8 seasons. And he sent more players to MLS than any other university during that tenure. So part of the story there is Ken seeing that parallel between his type of leadership and the leadership that was going on from Manya and her people, really very much the same. After my time at U of L, there came a point where my dad, we'd always talked along the way that I would eventually join the family business. And so it just kind of the timing was right for me to make that transition. That was 9 years ago now. So now I've been in the family business 1 year longer than it was at U of L, which is kind of hard to believe. But as anyone who's been a part of the family business, second generation, you know how challenging it can be to make this transition. In fact, only 30% of businesses make the transition from the first generation to the second. And so the reason why, mainly, if you're looking up, is it's typically because of the relationships in disharmony. And I heard this quote in a podcast with the Allbirds founders, with Guy Raz, how I built this. And what he said there was that they recognized that the relationship is just as important as the strategy. And we're part of the U of L Family Business Center, and that's what I always share is the relationship is just as important as the strategy. If the relationships aren't right, you can have the greatest strategy in the world and it's not going to work. So focusing on the relationship and getting that right was key, and the way to do that was by getting some outside coaching. And what we did was we ended up becoming an entrepreneur operating system company. We joined on EOS. And those who know EOS know what it does and how incredible it can be, but what you do is you hire an implementer to help you put this program into place. In Louisville, there's at least 35 businesses or more that are on it, but nationally, there's over 10,000 companies that run on this. What this did was it helped us to organize ourselves and get on the same page. So you create your 10-year vision, your 3-year picture, your 1-year plan. You establish and clarify your core values in writing, your 3 uniques in the marketplace. You clarify what your target market is and what your niche is, and you put this in a 2-page business plan, and then you start to meet quarterly off-site, and you go through this process of getting organized. And this is a big part of our story because we created this accountability chart, an organizational chart that clarified roles and responsibilities and got us on the same page and allowed us to clarify where we're going and what we're doing. My sister Anna ends up becoming the integrator, so she's the one running the company. I'm over the sales and marketing, kind of on the visionary side, but we knew that we needed to change and adapt here again, and that gave us the clarity to do that. And so what we ended up doing was, the big change that we made was that we started selling direct to the customer. This was the big change that changed everything for us. What I kept saying was, here we have, there's this foundation of this company with 150 machines and about 100 people, and we're manufacturing, and we're low margin, and we're churning dollars, and we're struggling to make it. What do we need to change? What would Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank say? We went to them. This is kind of the thought process over and over. And what we decided was that they would say, we'll modernize the company, sell to the end user, use e-commerce, take the bull by the horns, and go do that. Build a sales organization on the front of it. And so that's what we decided to do, and that didn't, it was a, there was fear to go do that, to step out and essentially compete with some of our customers there. But we knew it was the right thing to do, and so we took the leap of faith there. And what we did was we started selling through e-commerce right when COVID hit. And we started building company web stores so that individuals could order online and order just one piece, put the logo on it, ship it to their house. And why wouldn't this have happened before? Well, our industry is just behind. Getting information to a machine to run a logo and then ship it to an address, it's a lot of information to process, a lot of logos to handle. And so you don't, remember, in our industry, you don't want to do one piece, you want to do both runs. But we went ahead and went against the grain. We said, we're just going to do it. We're going to grit our teeth and just figure out how to make it happen. And in doing so, we're going to own the customer, and we're going to increase our margins. So we started building these web stores, and we started recruiting people around it. And the main recruit that I got early on is Finn Cola, who's with me today. Finn was the captain at Spalding Soccer, and my friend Adam is the head coach there. We played soccer growing up. And I said, I called Adam and said, I need somebody. I need a star. I need somebody to help me build this thing. What do you got? He said, well, the captain of the team, Finn Cole, is your guy. He didn't hesitate. And I called Finn, and he started working with me early on. And so we started this concept of building these stores. We started refining it, we systemized it, and we started having Zoom calls with companies about this concept that we created, that we just made up. And the story was resonating, and it worked. And we would give people tours around our company. I would be up with my phone up on a ladder to kind of show what we had in the background and things there going through this presentation. And people started signing on. We were basically giving these away at the beginning. But you fast forward to today where we were giving, Miranda Construction was one of our first ones. I gave it to my friend Ryan. But what happened was over time, they started to become real and functional. We got great feedback. And fast forward to today, we've been doing this for about 5 to 6 years. And we have 600 web stores in about 40 different states. And we've been adding 2.5 new web store clients every single week. And that's from Finn's efforts. We can fit around the block. So now we have an e-commerce team. At any given time, we're building 30 web stores at a time. They're always in process, and we're launching and launching. So that's the big part of our growth is through that model. And that was through that adaptability, that theme of adaptability. So we flipped around, and on that contract model, we still do that. But now we're about 60% direct sales and 40% contract. And a much healthier company because of it. The last thing that we ended up doing, we called it Tag Your Swag, that's what we called it. And eventually we ended up combining that name of the 2 previous names into Tag Swag. We did that 2 years ago through a local guy, John Passafume, the Passafume family, you may know, in season restaurant downstairs. He and I went to downtown. He and I went to St. X together, and he came and saw me and heard the story. And he's kind of really a world-class artist living in New York City. But he created that logo and sent it to me without me asking. So that became our new brand, Tag Swag. So pretty special how it just happened that way. But that kind of is the modern era of our company. And with that, the other huge milestone was us moving into our new facility. I think we're on that map right now. The story of that, as we clarified this picture of our business, one of our biggest issues was being in these 2 facilities. You can imagine driving product back and forth between these 2 facilities. we were shipping out of one, so we would get everything, we receive it into one, drive it to the other, add the screen printing and the decoration, bring it back, and then ship it, combining orders. Very inefficient. So we thought one day we'll get into a building. I thought we'll move out, somewhere in the East End or out in Shelbyville where Shady Rays went, we'll go out somewhere far away so we build a great big building. And then one day, my dad called me and he said, David, I think we might be standing in our new building. And he sent me the address, and it was on Floyd Street, and I'm like, oh, I've driven by that building hundreds and hundreds of times going to U of L. And so my mom, my sister, and I drove over there, and we got inside, and we're like 80,000 square feet, that's pretty big, but we need something bigger. And we go in there, and there was a moment where we went up on the mezzanine, and if you know the movie Father of the Bride with Steve Martin, he was making the shoes in there, and he was up on the mezzanine. And my mom loved that. She always talked about it. She always wanted a mezzanine. So we go up there in that day, and we stood up there, and it's the old Neil DeVille building, which was parts distribution, row after row of these parts. We looked down, and there was kind of like a goosebumps moment where we're like, oh my goodness, for some reason this is it. Yeah, this is it. So we call it that. My mom's name is Peggy, and so now we call it Pegazine. But so my dad bought the building, and we had it under construction, did it ourselves for 2.5 years. It's fully renovated, and we've been in there for about 2 months, and it's changed us completely. And we moved ourselves with our own box trucks, one machine at a time. So there's the perseverance. We're a scrappy bunch. And then, so if you go into today, I'm not sure. That was the old Neil DeVille building. It's kind of the modern entrance of it. That entrance there in that space, we have a vision of it being kind of experiential retail, where you can come in and you do on-demand production. So you can bring in a corporate group and you can pick out a blank, pick out a hat or a shirt or a hoodie or a jacket, and we'll press logos on it, and we'll produce it as it goes. So that's more to come on that, but it opens up all new opportunities for us. This is the group when we won the one of the Fast 50 companies in Louisville there, and that's Manya's son, homie, who passed away just 2 years ago. There's some of the team. There's my son Louis cutting grass. The next generation. But so where we are today is we are one of the largest apparel decorators really in the country. The way we're different in the market is our people manufacturing and our technology. The people side I've talked about. We have 85 team members today. The manufacturing side, the scope of manufacturing that we have, and then the diversity of manufacturing. So we have 400 embroidery heads, including 21 single head machines. We have 6 automatic screen print presses and 2 direct-to-film printers. We print out heat transfers. We have 14 presses for that, 2 DTG printers, 2 laser etchers for drinkware, 2 UV printers, and an 80-foot laser bridge for tackle applique. Some of it's a foreign language, but you just have to come see it. It's a marvel of manufacturing. I tried to add some slides and it didn't translate, so you just have to see it. Business First did a nice article on us, but that's where we are today. Where we're going next, our vision is to be Louisville's go-to swag provider, their first call for anybody local who needs logos on their apparel and products. We're developing those types of partnerships all the time, and we're excited of where we're going next. And the vision ultimately is that the next generation, my sister's kids, my kids, could inherit something that they could grow and lead themselves, all while maintaining our core values and the servant leadership that got us where we are today. And I think that's the end of the story for us. Thank you.
That was awesome, David. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great story. I'm Larry Sloan. I'm a manufacturer's representative, retired. I used to sell craft and art supplies. including apparel and so forth. But your story is unique because you started that here in Louisville, and so many apparel manufacturers are in countries where the labor is cheaper. I'm just curious whether tariffs are affecting you in a positive or a negative way.
Great question, Larry. So the manufacturing of the blank apparel is almost all being done overseas. We then purchase the blank apparel from our vendors that are stateside in these million square foot warehouses kind of located all over the country. So the tariffs impacted our vendors, and our vendors raised the prices on the blanks, and then we just essentially pass all that to the customer as well. So overall, I think it went up about 2 or 3% on most of the blanks, and then when we quote orders for clients, we're quoting it in real time. And so we're not really, it did not directly impact us, I should say, or I should just say we just naturally passed it on to the customer. Thank you.
Hey David, thank you for coming to Walt Kuno. When I heard your name and saw your picture, I said, I know you. So you wouldn't remember this, but way back then, when Ken's kids were collegiate, you came over and talked to them for our folks here. Ken came and talked to some of our students, either Iroquois or Western, I really don't remember, but he was big on literacy, and he had a way of talking about it resonate with the kids, and it was really fun. So I don't know if you have any kind of cute or fun stories to talk about Ken that you can share with us.
I do, yes. On that note, he wrote a book, a children's book called Find Your Gifts. Yeah, it's a wonderful children's story that I actually went around and speak at the schools. And I was kind of like his right-hand man on that type of stuff. But yeah, he's a father of 3 children. After Ken left the University of Louisville, his testimony is that he was called by God to step out of that. And now he's a pastor, a youth pastor. And part of his story there that is neat is that there were some boys who were being trafficked in the AAU basketball circuit from Africa, these 3 brothers. And they asked Ken and Tina if they were part of Evangel World Person. You might know Evangel is a really big basketball program. And they said they were down in Houston and they rescued the boys and got them on an airplane and brought them back to Louisville. And they said, as the youth pastor, Ken and Tina, would you take them in your house for a couple of weeks? And they said, yes, absolutely they would. So they did. I met the boys, they came to our house and all that. And fast forward to today, so 2 weeks turned into 2 months, which turned into 2 years, which turned into them being the legal guardians of these boys. So that's just the type of people that they are. One of them plays at UNLV. One of them is at Center College, actually. And the third one is at a prep school for the next year. But back to the children's part, there was a full circle moment where I was the mystery reader for my 4-year-old daughter recently. And I went in there, and of course I read her class, Finding Your Gifts, and got a picture and sent it to Ken and Tina. So pretty cool.
Hey Dave, Kent Wayland, good to see you. So, looking at the scale of what you do, and I've been in your shop, when I text you for like 8 jerseys for our 2nd grade soccer team, and you always respond via text, and obviously the scope of what you're doing is so much bigger than that. Outside of us being friends and me just being a really nice guy, how does that make any sense for you in the local community to go and make, 8 soccer jerseys for my little Catholic school 2nd graders?
It all starts with the philosophy of unreasonable hospitality. And so, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so, I feel like we should approach each thing that comes our way, take care of the small things that turn into big things. And so, yeah, I always try to take care of it. And I'm not writing the orders today. I'll probably pass you off to a team member there. But, it's an honor that people, that's the vision, that we would be the go-to swag provider. So, when you reach out like that, we're absolutely going to take care of you. So, great question.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here today. I'm Nick Garner. When I'm not doing my day job, one of the other things that I do is I do development work for the Louisville Tool Library. And I always need to ask a self-serving question when I'm here. I'm curious about like what end of life looks like for your machines that you have on site, the screen printing, embroidery. When do those turn over, and what do you do with them? Do you need a tax-deductible home for them?
Yeah, that's a great, I've never been asked that question. Yeah, that's a great question. So before we moved, we retired, I don't know, 3 or 4 embroidery machines that are, 20-foot long pieces of steel. And I want to say that we recycled them, or someone picked them up that had use for them. We have, and the Algonquin building I mentioned, we still have several machines in there that we don't know what to do with. So I'd be happy to take you over there and have a look at it, for sure. Yeah.
David, we have a special pin to remind you of your time today at the four-way test for Rotary. What an inspiring speech. You kind of uplifted all of us, I think. I love anyone that focuses on servant leadership and can really take it far. So congrats, and congrats for the future. Congrats with your 2 young ones.
Thank you. Two boys and a daughter, and I just found out from sledding with my daughter, she's the adrenaline junkie. I think she's going to be the one.
No worries. Thank you. Barbara, come on, tell us about next week.
All right, thank you, President Ken. And David, my heart skipped a beat when Nick walked up to the microphone and said, so I have an unusual question for you. I'd like to know your perception of end of life. Okay, Henry, that's what I get for looking at my notes. Just speak what I'm supposed to say. So thank you for that. That was an incredible story. All right, so in true Rotary fashion, not only do we have a fantastic speaker today, how in the heck do you follow up with something like that that has all those family ties from lawnmowers to machines to international connections? Well, I think I figured it out, President Ken. Next week, we are going to have, right here, if you haven't heard this yet, we're going to have the Louisville Kings head coach, Chris Redmond, is going to be in the house. And he too has a family story because his father is Coach Bob Redmond. And all roads lead to Barbara. You know how I like to make it about me. So my brother, yeah, Dr. Linda, my brother and Coach Bob Redmond, Chris's father, they played all 4 sports because there were only 4 sports in high school back in the 60s at Thomas Jefferson High School. So when I saw Coach Bob last week at the event, when last time he saw me, I was 12. And I expected him to remember me. I don't know where I'm going with that, but sign up for next week's meeting. We have the, you can sign up there on your table. Now, we're not going to be in this room next week, so when you walk in, and there's nobody here, we're going to be over in the formal dining room, not the President's Club, right there. It's going to be across the hallway on the other side of this beautiful facility. And then the other thing is, make sure you all sign up for the February 12th meeting, because that is the mayor's annual State of the City address, and we won't be here on the club property at all. On February 12th, we're going to be at the Kentucky Center for Performing Arts. And we're expecting a full house again this time with about 600 folks. So with that, President Ken, I think now we're going to do something really crazy, right?
Yes.
You do not get to open that. That would be really crazy. Okay. All right, there's going to be a drawing.
So last chance, I've got some cool pieces of paper here. Anybody else run up here with a $100 bill? We're getting ready to do the drawing. Everybody good? Everybody got in the drawing that wants to be?
Okay, well first, let's let Cliff tell them what this is that we're drawing for.
All right.
And how you got in the drawing.
Jackson Purchase is a Kentucky distillery located in Hickman, Kentucky. They have been around for a number of years, successfully making whiskey for other distilleries. And they decided they would finally make their own bourbon. So 2 months ago, they launched Jackson Purchase Bourbon. It's 117 proof, so it's Good. And it is available now in the local news. And the winner is Vernon Foster.
We convinced him to show up.
So he needs to share.
Oh, we sent it. All right, thank you for your.
Cliff, appreciate that donation, appreciate everybody's donation, and obviously some great local projects that we do that it supports. Cliff, there's a youth and education meeting over in the President's Room after this meeting, and anyone's invited to go just to learn more, so if you want to bring that bottle over, it might help kickstart the meeting. And the Waters Rotary table in the back for our guests. One quick America 250 fact, I said we'll start doing those as we gear up for that, and next week, of course, is the Olympics, which is fun, but on the 50th anniversary of America, that was July 4th, 1826, pretty sad day, 2 ex-presidents died within 5 hours of each other, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, so clearly they kind of waited for the anniversary to say goodbye. So we'll have brighter 250 moments to come. All right. Hopefully, I think by next Thursday we'll be above freezing. So we have that to look forward to. It hasn't been since we met last Thursday. So please stay warm, and we are adjourned.